Hello, everybody. I'm here with Mr. Geoffrey Thew of his mother's basement.
The mother's basement, actually.
Oh,
the mother's basement. My lawyers tell me that I have to make that specification. It's a brand name. I actually live in the bottom floor of a townhouse. Don't tell anybody, except for all the people listening to this podcast and everybody I tweeted at. Oh God, I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud. Hi. I super peaked my microphone there. I'm sorry.
Look, the peakier we get, the better, you know? So, let's just start off by saying you've now taken over the Weebcast.
Yes,
which is cool.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So,
there's a bit of a connection delay between us. I assume that's because you're in the Upside Down right now. Tell me if you see any cool, creepy, psychic little girls down there. I know some people who are looking for them.
Yep.
It's a joke because Australia also has terrifying monsters in it. Anyway, yes, the Weebcast. I did recently take over that from Digi, although it was sort of our joint creation. He did a thing called Weebing Around, or Weeb Time, or something. He did a one-off thing with Jimmy that he wanted to turn into a thing. And then I came up with the name The Weebcast, and I was like, okay, well, I'll help you make this, since I was the second biggest guy on the podcast. Of course, when we started it, I was only at 40,000 subscribers, and then I made a thing about SAO, and then suddenly I was at 80,000, and now I'm closing in on 200,000, which is where Digi was at when we started this. But yeah, Digi hates watching seasonal anime. And being obligated to watch seasonal anime to make people stop asking him to watch seasonal anime, he realized that kind of defeated the purpose of that. So he passed the reins off to me, and I've been trying to make something of it that's more weekly, like a weekly series out of it, as opposed to just like a seasonal thing. And I've been trying to make that into like a podcast that people can listen to on a regular basis. Like my favorite podcast, the Super Best Friend Cast. I basically just stole half their format, made it more about anime, and hopefully that leads to something entertaining for people.
Yeah, so with that, you're also planning on doing special episodes as season beginning and like special events? Because you did the Hello Weebcast,
yes,
and such, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's going to be a weekly thing, and then on occasion, the weekly Weebcast is going to be replaced by a much more comprehensive special Weebcast. Of course, the holiday specials are basically just going to be the same format, but we'll recommend holiday things, or we'll talk about something related to the holiday. The format that I'm currently trying to go with is the first half we talk about one anime, sort of like a book club type thing, and then in the second half we sit down and just talk about our weeks and open the mailbag, read things people have sent to us, that sort of thing.
So like half manga pod, half pod taku.
I would say half manga pod, half Super Best Friend Cast. Because that's who that's who I stole the whole thing from.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to take aspects of podcasts that I used to listen to, or that I currently listen to a lot, and condense them into something that I would like to listen to while I go to the gym. Of course, I can't listen to myself talk for that long, but hopefully you guys can get some exercise while I am lounging around in my chair getting fat. And and the seasonal Weebcast will continue as scheduled, or as they have previously, going up 4 to 5 to 6 hours, or however long they end up going, depending on how interesting the season is. Because, I mean, as you know very well, Mr. Canned Chicken. I like suffering a lot.
Yes, you really enjoy suffering. Like you're a masochist.
I guess you could say that. I'm like the blonde guy from Boku. Oh no, I was about to not Boku no Pico. I gotta finish that now. From Bokura Mina Kawaiso, not Boku no Pico. Blonde guy from Boku no Pico, different kind of masochist. No, Shiro. I was like, nobody's gonna get that reference, but I got 2 syllables in. I was like, wait, no, if I don't finish that, people are gonna think something else. Yeah. I'm a bit of a masochist, I guess. I just like, making stuff, and I like talking. I like hearing the sound of my own voice, basically.
So recently you've actually put out a couple of video game related videos, and I found that the way that you carry yourself when talking about video games is very different to anime. Is that because you did work for a gaming magazine?
Yeah, possibly. I don't really see that much of a difference in my creative voice between talking about games and talking about anime. It's just that I have very, very strong opinions about video games. And I have strong opinions about anime too, but my anime videos tend to be more analytical. Whereas my video game videos are much more... I mean, I have done analytical video game stuff previously, like my Psychonauts video, which people should watch because not enough people have watched that, and my Hitman video where I analyze level design, and I think that those are closer in tone to what I do with video games. But I think it's more of a case of me just expressing opinions about things, and doing more video editorials. That's what has been successful for me when it comes to making video game content. Like the Zelda video is my most successful video game thing so far, and that was basically I wrote my opinion down as fast as possible and got somebody else to edit it as fast as possible because Breath of the Wild was relevant then. But yeah, if you watch my Sword Art Online videos, I think you'll find that those are pretty similar in tone, maybe, to my video game stuff. I'm not sure if I've answered your question. How exactly do you mean that the tone between the two is different?
Well, I mean, like, comparing the did Mass Effect's decline start at ME2 versus the Clown Pranks, a standalone complex. Yeah, I felt that those two were different in tone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Clown Pranks thing was more of just like a thought thing, that was more of a thought experiment type deal. And, self-admittedly, the Clown Pranks thing was hot. I was like, what if I do a topical video? Will people respond to that if I combine that with anime stuff? So I with that one, I tried to do a little bit more cribbing from Nerdwriter and the Idea Show. That's the name of it, right, on PBS.
Yeah, PBS Idea Show.
Yeah. So cribbing from those things and from just the video essayists to try and make an argument like that. And the answer that I reached in making that video is I don't think people are as interested in hearing that kind of stuff from me as they are in hearing analytical things. So I'm probably not going to do too many video essays that make arguments in that vein. The other thing is that the Mass Effect video it's something I'm genuinely passionate about. I strongly disagree with the mainstream consensus on that series. And that video was actually like a passion project, I guess, or a passionate idea that I had to get made. And that was sparked by my friend Daniel Floyd. He tweeted out a thing about saying, "Oh, I really enjoyed the Mass Effect multiplayer in Mass Effect 3." And I had been like thinking for a while, well, Mass Effect 3's multiplayer is kind of indicative of everything that's wrong with Mass Effect, because Mass Effect doesn't need multiplayer at all. And that was very clearly somebody from EA coming in and being like, "Oh, you got to do this." And the blatant studio interference, or the blatant publisher interference with Mass Effect's production is something that bothers me, because I love the first game so much, and I just had to make that video, you know? Like, I just had to make that Uncharted video that everybody loves to hate. So I guess part of the difference in tone might come from how much I gave a shit about the individual projects, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you watch that video, you can tell that Mass Effect is very important to me. And the timing of that ended up being not good. I mean, I wouldn't say it was good timing, but appropriate that I would do something like that right around the time that my grandfather, who introduced me to Star Wars, initially died. So that gave me like an opportunity to give him a proper send-off on my channel. So I cared a lot more about the Mass Effect project than I did about the Clown Pranks one.
And you talked about this on stream a bit, but those VIF videos that you did kind of messed around with your channel.
Yeah. Yeah, YouTube analytics is a nightmare. As I'm sure you know, you run a YouTube channel. Getting your watch time down, getting your view retention down on a couple videos can really, really be damaging to your brand. YouTube will stop prioritizing you as much. It will be less likely to recommend your future videos to people past the first or second day that you post them. Like, my One Punch Man video came after that, and it got 100,000 views and had a view retention of 10 minutes, and for some reason it didn't get fed into YouTube's recommendation algorithm at all. I still am not sure why that happened, but my suspicion is that it's because I put out too many videos that people were like, "Oh, I don't want to watch this." It's kind of the trap of being a YouTuber who, to get into YouTube now, you have to have a niche. You have to do something that you do that nobody else does, because that's the only way you're going to get noticed. I mean, technically speaking, you can get noticed talking in very general terms about anime, because anime is still like a new thing on YouTube. But if you want to do video game stuff on YouTube, forget about it. You need something that you do that nobody else does, and it can't be game design related, because the biggest game design channel right now, other than Extra Credits, which I would argue is not quite the same thing, would be Mark Brown, and he's only at I think 80,000 subscribers, and he's Mark Brown. He's the game design guy on YouTube. So analytical stuff, you need to already have a platform to do game design analysis. You need to already have a platform to do game reviews, for sure. Nobody's going to care about your Let's Play channel. Nobody's going to care about your video game podcast. Nobody's going to care about any of that unless you're approaching things from a unique angle. But the flip side of that is that if you do anything outside of your niche, there's a very good chance that nobody will give a shit, and it'll flop. And that's kind of what happened with those movie vlogs. I wanted to give them a real chance at succeeding, which they wouldn't get if I put them on my vlogging channel. They'd linger at 500 views, and they'd never really go anywhere. But that kind of backfired, because people were like, "No, we don't care about this kind of content." And in a way, that's good, because it helps me narrow my focus to what I'm trying to make. And I think with the Weebcast, I've found something that my audience actually does care about as much as the What's in an OP series, the What's in a Scene series, that is easier to produce, which is what I was hoping to do with those vlogs, but I think ultimately didn't really pan out. I think if I did a vlog about an anime in similar vein to the movie reviews that I've done, that might do a little better. I have had timely movie videos that have been successful, and I think that I will try to do one more movie vlog when Doctor Strange hits. I'm going to see that at midnight, November 4th, come home, do a video like that, and see if I can get any traction on that type of video. But yeah, ultimately it was something that the audience wasn't interested in, and that turned around and hurt my future videos pretty substantially, because if you don't watch 3 videos from a YouTube creator who you follow, YouTube decides, oh, you don't want to see anything from this person forever, which is why it's really important to turn on the notification button, so that you actually see everything that the people you're subscribed to make. I don't know why YouTube does things like that. You would think that they just roll notifications and subscriptions into one another, since they've got that feed now. But, you know.
Well, with beta channels for the mobile app, they actually have been rolling out notification subscriptions. Because I was subbed to a crazy amount of channels on one of my accounts, and I was just getting non-stop notifications from YouTube, and then I realized, oh, that's not good. So I switched over to the Canned Chicken account, which is the best account because it's the one that gives you the most money.
Yeah, of course. So I guess they must be rolling that out slowly. But yeah, well, I just feel like subscriptions and notifications should be an opt-out thing, but obviously it's tough for YouTube because they need to sell ad space on their front page, right? They need to maximize, or they need to optimize what you are seeing on your homepage on YouTube. And a lot of YouTube users are still too, I don't want to say stupid, but ignorant of how YouTube works to jump over to their subscription feed and actually see their subscriptions. So you end up missing stuff all the time. Honestly, I think that the subscription page should probably be the front page that you go to when you're logged into YouTube. But again, I'm saying that as a video creator who's got a vested interest in people seeing what they want to see, and obviously YouTube has to worry about discoverability. If they didn't, my stuff would never get seen. So it's a tricky balancing act to walk. It just bothers me that I can't experiment without being punished by the system for that, you know?
Yeah. Well, like, the other thing that I was thinking while you were just saying all of that is that you're probably the best of the procrastinators at search engine optimization and knowing how YouTube algorithm works. That's just based off of, everything that I've heard, from, listening to it and, looking at people like Jesse, except for the Bats video. Just,
Yeah, I mean, Jess gives zero fucks, right? He gives zero fucks about SEO. He gives zero fucks about any of that hoity-toity corporate bullshit, as I'm sure what he'd call it. Actually, no, he'd come up with a much more creative phrase to describe it. But yeah, Jesse does not give a fuck about that kind of stuff, for starters. And the other guys, they're more interested in creating stuff for them than they are in creating stuff for business purposes. Like, they're making something that they want to make, that they're passionate about, and that's great. I mean, that's what I do too, but I also want to be able to do that for a living. And like Digi, he's kind of an anomaly because he's successful, but he doesn't give a shit about analytics or any of that. He just goes by what conventional wisdom has told him that he should do, which is put faces in the thumbnail as big as they can possibly be, and
make the most clickbait without trash titles possible.
Yeah, I mean, I've been clickbaiting like crazy too, but I mean that's what you do, right? That's how you YouTube. You want people to be interested in clicking your thing. And I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with clickbait. I think that it's just it's part of the business of a video does not have value, in my opinion, unless it's being watched. Like a video that I've made, I mean, like it has an inherent quality that I'm proud of, but unless people are seeing it and it's starting a conversation, then it hasn't done what I've set out to do with it. So getting eyes on videos is important. And I mean, there's clickbait for like the clickbait's part of that for sure, but SEO is really, really important, and that's something that that's something that I picked up from my time working in game journalism. I am very conscious of putting keywords in titles. I am very conscious of putting keywords in my descriptions. A lot of people on YouTube use their descriptions to just advertise their Patreon or advertise their Twitter. That's a bad idea. If you are a YouTuber, listen the fuck up. Describe your video with keywords in the description. YouTube search, like Google pays attention to that. YouTube search engine pays attention to that. People looking at your video actually do read the first 3 sentences of the description, if it's something that isn't like immediately obvious what it's about. So descriptions are very important. Keywords and tags are very important. You actually do have to pay attention to that stuff. And I mean, I've talked to people who work at MCNs. I've been like looking into joining one for a while, but you know, it's a complicated question of will I do better with or without them, and all of that stuff. But I have talked to people at MCNs. They've looked at the back end of my channel and they've said, oh yeah, your SEO is actually really good. They gave me a few tips that I needed to work on, like put the name of your channel in all of your tags. That's important. That's something a lot of people forget to do. That's something I was forgetting to do. Because otherwise, when people search for your channel, they'll find videos that aren't yours. And you don't want that. You want to monopolize your channel name. But yeah, I've talked to people at MCNs before, and they've told me that my SEO is good, and they've also told me that most of the time, literally half their job is sitting down with people and being like, okay, you have to use keywords, you have to actually describe your video in your description, and you have to have a good title that, again, has keywords in it. That's really important. Yeah. And I guess the difference between me and a lot of other YouTubers is that I have known that is important from before I came into YouTube, because I had to worry about that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your history. So you worked for a game magazine that you dislike, it seems.
I didn't dislike it when I worked for it. I worked for this. It says game magazine. It's like its business name is Hardcore Gamer Magazine. It's not a magazine. It used to be a magazine, but the magazine shut down when print media died, because print media is dead. And the one of the editors bought the magazine's name and website from the guy who was in charge of it at the time, Tim Lindquist, who was who was in charge of Double Jump Books. They made a bunch of strategy guides back in the day. It's this whole sordid history, but basically it got picked up by the guy who currently owns it and who used to be their online content manager, Steve Hanley, and he basically turned it into a content mill trying to mimic IGN. I was brought into that on a volunteer basis. I was staff. I was considered staff in terms of the thing. It's just that site didn't pay people. And when I came into that site, I was under the impression that, I work hard, I get this thing up to a level where it's actually like a well-known website, and I'll get paid. And over time, it became increasingly apparent that was not the case. And I was putting in a 40-hour work week, basically, making content for this website, editing content for this website, which was a big part of my job. I rose through the ranks at this place very quickly because he would hire anybody who was willing to work for free. I happened to be at a place where I was like, okay, I need something to do while I look for a job. And then I was enjoying it enough that it became something that I was just doing all the time. And I rose through the ranks to become the features editor of that website, which meant a whole bunch of extra responsibilities, and you guessed it, no paycheck. So I was just sitting at my desk 5-6 hours a day, looking at other people's articles that were very, ranging from okay to complete dog shit, and having to figure out a way to salvage those. And because I was the features editor, all of these articles were upwards of 2,000 words long, So I was trying to figure out a way to take complete garbage English that, I'm not kidding, sometimes barely had a grammatical structure, and turn it into something not just readable, but good. Because with a text-based website, the only way that it ever succeeds, the only way that it ever maintains an audience, is one, having a community, which Steve was too late. Steve, I said his name before. Okay, I'm just trying to remember if I was trying to keep his name out of this, but fuck it. Steve didn't get that building a community was important. He was basically like, okay, we'll put discuss on our WordPress blog and that's it. We'll call it a day. I couldn't help that side of it. But the other side of it is you get people staying on a website if you have high quality content. Having high quality content is the most important thing for any internet-based, personality-driven or content-driven site. That was part of the reason that I've been able to be successful as a YouTuber outside of knowing SEO, is that I came into my channel and right off the bat, I thought, okay, I need to get this to as high a level of quality as possible, as soon as possible, because the thing about YouTube is people subscribe to content that looks like it should have more subscribers than it does, if something feels like this could be on TV, if something feels like, wow, this should have 1 million subscribers, then people will click subscribe. Or if something has a lispy, out-of-breath loser talking over CSGO for 20 minutes and repeating himself over and over again, apparently that'll get 1 million subscribers too, but that's a whole other kettle of fish that I don't know if I want to...
Actually, Leafy is another SEO genius, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, not SEO. He gamed YouTube's algorithm so well by constantly, 2 videos a day, 15 minutes each.
Yeah.
He just got that retention. He's getting tons of AdSense.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
It is absurd, but it's lazy, shitty content, I have respect for him, I guess, as I would not call him any kind of genius, having listened to him talk for more than 5 minutes. But I will say that I can respect the fact, his hustle, but I can't respect his content, And he is an anomaly in that he has hit that like midpoint of he found something that was new, which good for him. That's a hard thing to do that people wanted, and he found the laziest possible way to make a lot of that, and that's good business. Kid's making $1 million this year at least, and I guess good for him. But from everything I can tell, he's a garbage human being, and his content sucks. Anyway, I don't mean to take digs at Leafy just randomly. The general rule of thumb that I have for internet content is that it has to be good for people to stick around, right? Like, you can get lucky with a viral video and pick up 40 subscribers from it because the rest of the content on your channel is garbage. And the rest of the articles on Hardcore Gamer were garbage. I was trying to fix that as best I could and at least have some good features so that maybe it would be a website where people would go, okay, I can come to this for the features. And we would get some, like, consistent traffic from people who care about more than just regurgitated press releases. And then after a certain period of time, I realized that effort was completely in vain. What I was doing was not being appreciated in general. Steve thought of me as disposable or replaceable. He has been proven wrong, I think, in terms of the his ability to retain an audience and the dog shit quality of the writing on that site now. I mean, I haven't looked at it in the last 6 months. Maybe it's gone back up, but I kind of doubt it. And yeah, the reason that I have so much disdain for that site, I would not be burning bridges if Steve had been even remotely fucking professional when I quit my job, right? But basically I was like, okay, look, Steve, I want to do other stuff with my time. I wanted to make this YouTube channel. So I need to move away from doing this. I'll give you 2 weeks of my time so that I can get everything done that you need done on the website. And he's like, no, I'm not giving you a chance to quit. You're fired, is basically what he said. Because he's a child. He is a petulant, whiny fucking child. I'm sorry that I'm just, like, going off on some person. I sound like someone who's trying to...
Oh, no, he... Based off of the story that you told about Styx Master of Shadows...
Oh.
He deserves all of it, right?
Oh, yeah. There were a lot of times where he would say, oh, well, maybe this review should be, like, a little lower. He basically wouldn't let me give 5 out of 5 to games that I felt were 5 out of 5 because he wanted to keep the 5 out of 5 on Hardcore Gamer as a special thing. And then he turned around and let somebody else give Halo the Master Chief Collection a 5 out of 5 because it had the Halo brand name. And that's all really that 5 out of 5 meant, was this is a good game, and also it's got brand recognition. He'd turn around, he'd give it to indie games occasionally, but it was like this one-man review board for determining whether a game could have a high score. And there was that time with Styx Master of Shadows where I put out a review of it, and I was one of the 8 people on the entire internet to do a Metacritic listed review of that game. And because other outlets didn't give a shit about that game and handed it off to people who don't understand what a good stealth game is, that's why the IGN review is at like 65 or whatever. He said that my score was too high relative to the general consensus, so he took it off the front page of the website. He was just a complete dick from the word go. He acted nice sometimes, but he you know those people who are very fake? You know, they're nice to your face, and you can tell they just don't mean it. He's that kind of guy. And the moment that I realized just the depth of that was after I quit the website, because the first thing that he did is he took me out of the group chat, the Hardcore Gamer group chat, before I even had a chance to say, hey, goodbye, everybody, I'm quitting, to all of my coworkers, many of whom are my friends, right? Which is shitty. Then he told all of them that he had fired me, which... Not true, but I'm not going to get mad at him for that, because if I ever did want to sue him for severance, that makes it a lot easier. If he's going around claiming that he fired me. He's not a very smart person. I mean, not that I would, obviously. I'm not I barely have a litigious bone in my body. I will joke about suing people, but I won't actually sue people. But just an interesting factoid about how he handled that. And then the last thing that he did, as soon as I was like, okay, I want to do something else, he unfriended me on Facebook. What kind of dickhead unfriends somebody on Facebook when they give them 2 weeks notice?
Yeah, that's a bit odd.
That's it's fake as fuck is how I would describe him. But yeah, I haven't properly gone off on everything wrong with that in a while. So sorry for just sort of vomiting my feelings about working for that website into this podcast. But yeah, I did not have a fun time working for Hardcore Gamer. And if you are a aspiring game journalist looking to get some experience, don't do it there. Nobody respects you, and you can't get a job with Steve as a reference, no matter how good your writing is. Just putting that out there. I have worked for other game websites prior to that were really good. I worked for Blistered Thumbs under Angry Joe. He's probably the best boss I've ever had in my life, aside from me. I'm a really great boss. Very generous, kind, listen to all of my problems. I'm just a great guy. But Angry Joe is the best boss that I've ever had, hands down, and I really enjoyed working with Blistered Thumbs, even though that was one of those websites where internal problems made me feel like it was never going to go beyond a certain point in terms of getting hits. Like, it had all of the ingredients to be a huge website, but it was upper management and crosstalk between the management of Channel Awesome and the management of Blistered Thumbs ultimately made that impossible. Nobody's fault, really. At least nobody who I'm going to toss under the bus. It was just video producers trying to run a website don't necessarily know everything that they need to know about SEO and stuff like that. It's a different business. But yeah, so I have worked for websites that I liked. It's not like I'm sour on the whole game journalism thing. And in fact, I liked pretty much all of my coworkers from Hardcore Gamer. I liked a lot of the stuff that I made for them. I'm really proud of some of my articles. I'm really proud of the time that I spent on the Hardcore Gamer Show podcast, which is, in my opinion, one of the best podcasts that's ever been on the internet, audio quality problems aside. But yeah, my entire experience with that website comes down to my boss being a dickhead. And yeah, I haven't gotten that off my chest yet in video form. So here it is, off my chest. Do with it what you will, internet.
I'm sure we're going to be seeing lots and lots of ransom notes and,
Yeah, something like that. All right. More questions. Do you have more questions?
Yeah, so when did your relationship with anime begin? Just in general, like...
Okay. Pokemon? I think that's a pretty standard answer, but I mean, like, when I was 5, Pokemon. I didn't really understand what anime was at the time, I think it was just another type of cartoon. I didn't understand where it was from. I didn't know that it was like this special thing, or that it was imported from another country. It was just another cartoon. And then I saw more cartoons in that style, and because I liked that style, I kept watching them. Like, Digimon came up, Dragon Ball Z. We had a really, really, really strong dub of Cardcaptor Sakura. It was called Cardcaptors in Canada, but we got a slightly different dub from the North American one. with like a different cast from the American one, I believe. I might be.
Yeah. Canada and the UK. Well, I think it was just the Commonwealth in general got a different dub from the US.
I think it was Ocean Studios and Nelvana that handled that. But yeah, like we got a really strong dub of Cardcaptors, so I got obsessed with that show. And then around the time that I was turning like 11 or 12, I finally figured out that anime was like this special thing, and that these shows like Shaman King and whatnot that I had been watching on Saturday mornings were something different from, Animaniacs or whatever. And the thing that really cemented my love of anime was I started picking up like anime magazines like Anime Insider and New Type, and reading about Japanese stuff, and this happened when I was about like 11 or so, and we started getting on the Bionics block, which was a special late night block on YTV, which is a Canadian network, basically the Canadian equivalent of sort of Nickelodeon, but also they got some Cartoon Network stuff. It's hard to draw a direct equivalent. Nickelodeon, but run like Cartoon Network would be the closest, I guess. But they had a late night block that was a lot like Adult Swim, and all they ran on it was anime. So from there, I got hardcore into Inuyasha. They were airing Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, and I enjoyed episodes of that, although it was over my head as a 13-year-old kid. Witch Hunter Robin was on there. And the only Gundam series other than Wing that we ever got was Gundam Seed, which was the worst. But, I mean, I had late night anime to watch every night, and from that point on, I was just hooked. I started wanting to go to conventions. Eventually, I did go to conventions. I started buying my own sets of anime DVDs that would never air on TV. I think the first set of anime DVDs I ever got was I picked up like Final Fantasy Unlimited, which was terrible, and a few other things, and then one of the first things I ever bought for myself was Girls Bravo, which I felt like I was getting one over on my parents because Girls Bravo had boobies in it. And I think I read about that in Anime Insider or something, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm all on board for this. You remember when magazines mattered? That was
oh man, like I'm pretty much I'm a bit younger than you are. But my introduction to the medium of anime was a magazine that had a disc in it, and I loaded the disc into my laptop, and it was a High School of the Dead episodes 1 through 3, and
was that New Type there, or?
That was an Australian magazine, which is now, it was called Mega, I think? Something like that. It was just a game review magazine, but they had, discs with, game samples, and then they had a one-page anime review thing at the back.
And they had, a promo of a High School of the Dead. That's cool. That's a cool origin story. Mine is basically just this long process of slowly discovering that I really, really like these stupid Chinese cartoons, and that I specifically like them because of their Chinese elements. And yeah, I mean, once stuff started going on Bionics, I was hooked. I started going to anime conventions. I started buying my own anime DVDs. I still have my copies of Cromartie High School and Abenobashi and Azumanga Daioh from when I was a kid, because I fell in love with anime then. I mean, now, the thing is that anime DVDs were expensive, and I liked playing video games, and I eventually sort of fell out with anime for a while. I'd still watch it from time to time, but it was really hard to keep up with everything, and there was this sense that you weren't a true fan unless you were torrenting all the anime. And I had really, really fucking shitty internet when I was younger. So it was just too much of a hassle to keep up with fan subs. So I dropped out of anime for a while. And then Crunchyroll happened. And I believe
Was this a illegal seedy Crunchyroll, or was this this newer legal
legal
Crunchyroll?
Crunchyroll. I mean, like, I watched stuff on back in the day. I watched stuff on. I don't even remember the names of the websites anymore. They don't exist anymore. I was I preferred watching dubs. So it was a dubbed anime streaming site. Because I still prefer watching dubs because I like to look away from the screen from time to time. If I have to read the screen, I'm going to be looking at it all the time, and that means that I'm going to be focusing on all the editing and cinematography and everything, which is good for the viewing experience, but like that level of intense focus is what I do for work, so it feels a little exhausting. But yeah, I remember I watched like a lot of dubbed anime, and then I just sort of stopped because it was too much of a hassle and the stream quality was terrible. And getting torrents was like, this was back like, oh god, probably over 10 years ago. No, maybe like 8 years ago. But in the waning days of in the waning days of torrent of LimeWire and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm it's getting a little late and I'm pretty being pulled a few different ways at once right now. But I basically gave up on watching anime because it was just too hard to watch anime. And then Crunchyroll came along and it was like, okay, all your anime's in one place. It'll remember the last episode you watched if you want to come back in a week. It's high quality, and it's $10 a month. And I was like, fuck it, fine. I really want to see the new Fate series. So I started watching Fate Zero, and I enjoyed the shit out of Fate Zero. And I watched Attack on Titan, and I enjoyed the shit out of Attack on Titan. And I watched Sword Art Online, and I enjoyed the shit out of the first 2 episodes of Sword Art Online, and then it slowly fell apart over time until I was so full of hatred that I couldn't see straight. And that was... yeah, that was... It from there, I just became obsessed, and I eventually became as obsessed as I was with video games. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling right now. It's late. I mean, it's early for you, but it's late for me.
Well, it's like 5 p.m., you know. Anyway, so you then got to the point where you did the What's in an OP for Bakano versus Durarara.
Yeah.
Which, for whatever reason, you sound like you're underwater in that video.
That's because I didn't have a good microphone then. That was just like a test video, you know? And I recorded that with my Plantronics Gamescom headset mic, which was broken and also garbage to begin with. But I was like, it'll be fine. Nobody will care. I should probably remake that video with proper audio. But also, fuck it. Maybe I'll do that for my 500,000 subscriber special or something. I don't know. But yeah, I had that idea for a while because I had watched... I guess what got me specifically into talking about anime was Channel Awesome. It was watching Yezu Otaku stuff on Channel Awesome. And Yezu Otaku used to do videos talking about the best OPs of the year. And the focus of those videos was more on the music. But for me, editing and cinematography has always been like something that I really enjoy looking into. And like I saw discussion after discussion of people being like, oh yeah, Durarara is better than Baccano, back and forth. I think Baccano is like far and away the better series, like no question. But I like there is such a world of difference between those OPs, and people say, oh, well, the Bakano and Durarara OPs are basically just as good as each other. And I was just like, no, I want to prove people wrong, and I have opinions about why people are wrong. So I decided to use that as a test bed, because my plan at that time was I was going to start doing game reviews on YouTube, right? And I was going to like mix those in with anime stuff. My initial idea for my YouTube channel was I would do anime stuff as a smokescreen, and then, or as a Trojan horse, I guess, and get big with the anime demographic, which has a lot of crossover with the video game demographic. And then I would sort of break into doing video game stuff. I kind of have done that, but not in the capacity that I expected to. And yeah, the Bakano versus Durarara thing, despite how shit the mic was, despite the fact that I had no subscribers, I posted it to our anime, and it got like 200 upvotes, I want to say, and 7,000 or 8,000 hits. And I was like, that's crazy. I was up to 500, 600 subscribers, something like that, within a couple days of starting my channel. I was just like, okay, I gotta keep going with this. I have to ride this wave. Because I thought it would just be like, you know, a thing that I could get away with leaving on the back burner for a while. But that took off, and I was like, okay, I have to go out right now, buy myself a Yeti microphone, write a new script, get a new video out in 2 weeks. And I knew the 2-week rule because I watch a lot of game theory, and Matt Pat does videos about how YouTube's algorithm works. And if you're gonna go into something like this, go into it right. Know as much as you possibly can about how the business that you're working with works before you launch into it. You know, but yeah, I just went in whole hog. And the next video I made didn't do very well. It was the baby steps video, because I was watching the shit out of baby steps at that time. I was like, okay, gonna make a thing about baby steps. I'm gonna make people like baby steps. Nobody cared. And that taught me an important lesson, which is make videos about shows people care about. That seems like an obvious lesson to know, but like, yeah, you know, people aren't gonna want to watch your idea for you. They're going to want to watch the thing that they want to hear talked about. And you're going to have to show them 10 videos from you about things that they want to hear talked about before they realize, maybe I want to hear this guy talk about things that aren't things I already like. Fortunately, the video that I did after that was my Your Lie in April video, which at that point, I was basically 2 videos in. The baby steps one didn't do well, but it did get noticed by another guy who did YouTube videos, and he was like, hey, do you want to join us talking about making YouTube videos and doing stuff? That was Acer, who I've done a number of collaborations with at this point. My Spice and Wolf collaborations I did with Acer. And he was like, hey, do you want to join this Skype group for aspiring YouTubers? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I joined that to just, you know, talk to people. And they had like a bunch of constructive criticism to give me about my Acer had a bunch of constructive criticism to give me about my baby steps video. And then I put out my Your Lie in April video right after that, or 2 weeks after that. And they were doing like a criticism night, and Acer was like, oh, I want to criticize your baby steps video. I was like, no, I fixed a bunch of stuff about it, because I had basically I between baby steps and Your Lie in April, I talked to Dan Floyd from Extra Credits, and I was like, how can I make these videos better? Because he's been a friend of mine for a while, and he's also he knows his shit when it comes to YouTube. And he gave me some suggestions for how to edit my videos better, which at this point I basically take as gospel. And I put out the Your Lie in April video. Acer didn't want to look at that video at all, because because at that point he was just he hadn't finished the series yet, and he didn't want to be spoiled. And I was like, no, fuck you, we're doing this video because it's the one I can actually learn from. We put it in, and he's like, oh shit, I don't think I can give you any constructive criticism, because it was at that point that I wanted my videos to be at, where it was something that people could see on being on television. It was something that people would look at and think, this channel should have 1 million subscribers. And that video's done well for itself. It's gotten 300,000 views. My first 2 videos have 100,000 and 30,000 respectively. And then after that, I made the JoJo video. Wooly noticed that, and it just blew up from there. I mean, blew up relative to what it had been before. It really blew up once I started shitting on Sword Art Online.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a common story on YouTube now, is the Sword Art Online anime channel. You know, where people just...
It's a popular subject, you know, and it's that perfect blend of easy to shit on, well known, and well liked by idiots. And that's a gold mine, because you can talk about how much you like it, and people will give you a thumbs up, and you can talk about how much you hate it, and people will give you thumbs up. And either way, you're getting millions of hits off of that. I don't think that everybody who likes Sword Art Online are idiots. I mean, there are definitely reasons that show is likable. It is well produced in a lot of ways. Like, I don't necessarily agree with Digibro's assessment that everything about the show is bad all the time, because, like, he's the kind of... He's often an all-or-nothing type of guy with the show. It's either really, really awful and not worth watching at all, or it's good, and his scores will be more nuanced than that, but, like, he'll say, oh, there's... Like, he'll be hyperbolic and say it has no redeeming qualities. I can see why people would like Sword Art Online, with the caveat that they have to not know how good story structure works, and have to have not experienced that much media. But at the same time, it's super easy to shit on, and there's lots of angles that you can shit on it from that are really funny. I've got another video in the pipeline, actually, shitting on Sword Art Online, so, you know... obviously, it's a comedic goldmine, and yeah, it's just that perfect storm of elements that allows you to make a really viral video out of it. But I didn't really properly understood, oh god, I'm starting to talk completely grammar bad. I didn't completely understand what the phrase viral video meant, and what implications that had for a channel, until I put out that SAO video and it blew up. Other questions?
Yeah, so of recent you've started working with an editor, at least on some projects. That's Flip Anime,
yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's my most common editor, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, so how's that been with a change of workflow?
Makes it a lot easier. I mean, the thing that I hate most about making videos is editing my audio down. So having somebody else to do my audio for me, which I've had for a while, hugely helpful. It allows me to just, like, I record a thing, I get my best takes taken out of that and put into something I can use, and I can just roll from there, you know? But being able to just trust somebody to get my vision for a video and give me back something that I really, really like, that's such a relief, you know, because it allows me to double my work output without doubling the amount of work that I have to do. It allows me to do so much more. I need to talk to Flip about getting him, like, on payroll, you know, because that kid is talented. I say kid, he's about the same age as me, but, you know, that guy, he's such a talented guy. And and he really gets my style. The reason that I reached out to him is because he did a parody of What's in an OP, where he analyzed the opening to Mother's Basement, and that was just like, it was like, not only was it really funny, but he just got it, you know? He just got what he got how my editing style to a degree where I felt comfortable handing something off to him. And there's only one other person who I'm like confident in handing off a video essay to like that, which is CJ. But CJ only really knows video games and some TV shows. So,
oh man, gotta get the Devu on the payroll, man.
Nah, Devu is he's a Digi fanboy through and through. He will.
Devu is
yeah.
Devu's like a clone of Digi's editing style.
Yes,
is how I see it.
Yeah, and I need to.
I
need to find somebody like that. I need to. Really, what I need to do is I need to get to a point where I can pay Flip enough to just do all my videos for me.
Yeah.
I mean, not quite to that degree, but you know, I need to get to a point where I can pay him enough that he can do half my videos. Or that's what I'd like to do. That seems like a weird thing to just say on a podcast, but you know, I like to be open with what I'm thinking about business-wise, you know, because a lot of people try to keep things secretive on YouTube. A lot of people try to keep things secretive in internet business. And I think the internet is a giant conversation. And the more you open up to other people, the more they'll open up to you. And sometimes they'll open up their wallets to you and throw $300 at you to make you read chapter 16.5 of Sword Art Online on stream. But yeah, like I it's not even about that though. It's just I like interacting with other people. So
that's the thing with most internet creators that I've seen, is that they if you reach out to them, they will talk to you unless they're someone who comes from older media.
It depends.
Mostly.
It depends. I mean, like, Leafy's a dick. Leafy will barely talk to anybody who doesn't have a verification check mark on Twitter. And there's a lot of like 1 million+ subscriber people who won't even acknowledge somebody who's smaller than them in any meaningful way. There are, but I mean, like, it depends on the attitude, right? Because then on the flip side, you have people like Philip DeFranco. Philip DeFranco is one of my heroes. He is so open about what's going on in his life. He is so engaged with his audience, and he is so willing to just like sit down and talk to you if you run into him at a con, or if you run into him at a party. I've met him twice now. I'm sure he doesn't even remember me. I'll have to keep hammering that home by stalking him until he's like, okay, Geoff, I'll follow you on Twitter already. I'll check out your videos. But like, yeah, he's a very approachable, nice guy, and I talked to Jack's Films at VidCon. I talked to a bunch of people at VidCon who are very approachable, nice guys. Scott Nicewander from NerdSync is one of the sweetest guys I've ever talked to. I really, really have to reach out to him because I haven't talked to him properly since VidCon, and we tweet at each other from time to time. You know, it's that sort of tweet flirting that internet famous people do. But there are a lot of people who just don't want to interact with people at all and are kind of dicks about it. And some of them are huge, like Leafy, and some of them are small but talented enough to get away with it, like Jesse. Jesse hates people. Actually, no, that's not true. Because Jesse will interact with everybody. He will just like make it abundantly clear how much he fucking hates doing it as he's doing it. Because Jesse is this bizarre amalgam of hate and love that just spews endlessly at whatever he's directed at that moment, and
well,
he whatever is funny to him at that moment. But yeah.
if you annoy Jesse, he will hate you for the remainder of your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. I almost got to
I'm not
that.
sure how you... Yeah, because after the Things We Can't Get Into podcast... wait, was it Things We Can't Get Into? It was one of them that you were on with Jesse, where he went on like a 30-minute rage.
The Selling
Out
podcast.
Jessamine came in.
The Selling Out podcast.
Selling Out, that's it.
I mean, the difference there, like, he was genuinely pissed at me, but the difference there is he knew that I was taking the piss, and he knows I got him, right? Like, I got him with a legitimately good joke, and that's why. The thing about Jesse is that he is very emotional, and he will get legitimately very angry at you for minor infractions or major infractions. But if it's funny, he's okay with it no matter what. Within an extent, you know. I don't know him well enough to say no matter what, but he is okay with... He's the kind of person who can appreciate a good joke beyond how much it pisses him off. Because he's a comedic genius, is what Jesse is.
And he is. Every time that I watch one of his videos, it's just pure genius on a page, but, you know.
All right, I've got time for one more question, so hit me with your best one.
Well, I'm out of questions.
Oh!
So,
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's wrap this up. This is Geoff Thew. Follow him on Twitter. Support him on Patreon.
Yeah.
Support me on Patreon.
So yeah, support me on Patreon at patreon.com/mothersbasement. Follow me on Twitter at G0FFThew. Go to crunchyroll.com/basement for a 2-week free trial of Crunchyroll's excellent services, where you too can get into anime by watching Fate Zero. Really should have worked that plug in when I was talking about that. I'm not on my A game tonight. And subscribe to my channel at youtube.com/mothersbasement.
And you can give him $8 via doing the Crunchyroll. Yep. Was it 8 or 9?
It's $8, which is more money than Digibro makes.
Yep. So don't go to crunchyroll.com/digibro.
Go to crunchyroll.com/basement.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, and Hypocrite will be on next time, whenever that happens. So thanks, and bye.
Tell Hippo I said hi, even though I talk to him all the time.